A few days ago, I saw George Miller's latest movie, 3000 Years of Longing, and it was pretty cool. I'm a big fan of George Miller. I love the Mad Max movies, and I enjoyed Happy Feet. And going into this, I was excited to see what else George had in store. It wasn't as good as I was expecting, but it was still not bad. It was a very unique take on the whole story of someone who finds a genie and makes three wishes, and I thought it was handled quite excellently throughout most of the film. It had some amazing cinematography and acting, and a lot of cool visual effects. This movie can be hard for others to interpret, as it's a film that relies a lot on its themes to tell the story. Themes of old Arabic mythology, of love and hate, science versus myth, the dangerous effects of wishes, and of course, longing. The film mostly worked in that regard, although it began to get a little bit messy in the third act, and it could have been handled better. I'll discuss that in spoilers, which will be happening in a few seconds, so if you haven't seen the movie, please skip to this time code unless you want to be spoiled. And 3, 2, 1. So the main plot is Tilda Swinton's character, Alethea, is a lonely writer who comes across a djinn, played by Idris Elba, and struggles to come up with three wishes that she desires. So the djinn tells her stories from his past to help her figure it out. The movie is pretty much flawless when it is focusing on Jinn's backstory and Alethea's uncertainty of her wish. The flashbacks to Jinn's origins and his different hosts were interesting and very emotionally compelling. Where the movie sort of loses me is in its third act, after Alethea has made her wish, which was to feel the same love that Jinn gave to his previous host. It became a bit messy with a lot of the themes it was trying to convey and left a lot of questions rather than answers. Such as, why was Jinn turning to dust? He said that Jinn never sleeps, so why was he sleeping? Also, who the hell are those two creepy ghouls in the beginning of the movie? At first, I thought they were hinting that this was all part of Alethea's fantasy, as she even says that her mind has a wild imagination and plays tricks on her, but that was disproven by the fact that in the end, the Jinn interacts with other people. I tried researching it, and it seems no one has an answer for who those entities were. So maybe it has something to do with Arabic mythology that I don't know. I think the movie would have been stronger if it spent a tiny bit more time on the struggle of Alethea's wish and maybe stretch out her past to help us understand why she longs for romance so much other than, I had a husband once. Or maybe it would have been better to focus the entire movie just on the djinn. But this movie was still pretty good overall. I'm happy to see George Miller directing new stuff and not just being known as the man who made Mad Max. I recommend this to the more art house crowd out there, and I'm giving this 3.5 stars. And then a few days later, I saw the newest Pinocchio movie, and it's fucking horrendous. Robert Zemeckis has done such good movies, and while collaborating with Tom Hanks, he has created some instant classics. So to see him sell out to Disney like this and create a botched remake of a classic tale really saddens me. Following the trend of extremely flawed Disney live-action remakes of classic animated movies, they thought it was a good idea to take all the magic from Pinocchio and give us a half-assed product of a soulless corporation. I really won't care much about spoilers for this one because there really isn't much to say. This movie is somehow almost exactly the same as the first, and yet missed the point of it on so many levels. I'll give you a couple examples of the movie missing the point completely. First, there's the whole Pinocchio's nose growing as he lies. In the original, his nose grows whenever he lies, and that's simply to tell the audience that lying is bad. In this one, he uses this to his advantage by telling lies and using his enlarged nose to retrieve a key to get out of a cage. The reason this change is not good is because it juxtaposes the original lying isn't good message and says lying gets you out of life-threatening situations and is good. What kind of message is Disney trying to tell people? Another one is the whole Pleasure Island sequence. First, in the original, he is taken there after being manipulated and lied to by the foxes and is taken to a full-on child trafficking ring, all because the adults have taken full advantage of his innocence. In the remake, he isn't lied to, he's not manipulated, he's friggin' caught by a net from a passing cart. The fact that these adults were literally catching kids with nets probably should be a big indicator to Pinocchio and the other children that something is wrong. And Pleasure Island is mostly the same, with the big changes being things like the kids smoking and drinking. Now obviously that's going to be taken out with Disney, even though they were framed as extremely bad things for kids to do in the original movie. But the thing is, in the original movie, the park was so ominous even as the kids were having fun, and now it looks like an amazing fun theme park that takes away everything that was so sinister and reinforces the themes of the original. Honestly, the entire scene feels more like Disney saying,
Hey fuckers, thanks for your money, we still want more though, so come to our theme parks.
why? Why? That's all I'm gonna say about this shit heap. There wasn't much I liked. I mean, some CGI was good, Tom Hanks wasn't terrible as Geppetto, and Cynthia Erivo did pretty okay as the Blue Fairy. But frankly, I look forward to never ever seeing this again, and I don't recommend it to anyone. This is getting 1 star. And just 2 nights ago, I watched Moonage Daydream, the new David Bowie documentary, and it was fucking amazing. Yeah, you heard me. This was awesome. I saw the trailer in the theater and I thought, this looks pretty good, but I didn't expect it to blow me away as much as it did. This film is all about David Bowie's different personas, starting with Ziggy Stardust and all the way to the Thin White Duke. The film has such amazing personality and it's clearly very experimental. It uses a lot of footage from both David Bowie's performances and interviews, and edits them with scenes from old silent films, news reports, and so many other abstract artworks. Not to mention the flawless sound design, the entire film being one giant wall of sound. It makes you feel as though you're inside the mind of David Bowie, and you are seeing his chaotic vision. It honestly feels like a film David Bowie himself would have loved if he had been alive to see it. And this isn't a case of, you gotta love the music to love the documentary. Personally, I've never really gotten into David Bowie's music much. I've heard maybe 2 or 3 songs from him, but this movie made me want to hear more. What I love most about this film is that it understands Bowie, not as a person, but as an idea. David Bowie, throughout his career, obtained so many different personalities that there really isn't a real David Bowie. In essence, he's an enigma. A mystery. The film understands that and doesn't try to explain anything about him. Instead, it gives you all you need to know and a little bit extra and lets you come up with your own explanation as to who David Bowie really is. There was a biopic made in 2019 about David Bowie called Stardust that tried to explain why he created the persona of Ziggy Stardust. That was a major flaw with the film. Its attempt to explain something they couldn't be and didn't need to be explained. Plus there was the shitty acting, the shitty writing, the fact that David Bowie didn't even want it made and didn't even have a single goddamn David Bowie song, and Tilda Swinton didn't even play David Bowie. I mean, what the fuck? Anyway, I'm not going to say much more because I want people to experience this for themselves, so please check this out. Even if you're not a Bowie fan, watch this anyway. It is totally worth it. I'm really going to be paying more attention for the director Brent Morgan. I saw he made the Kurt Cobain documentary Montage of Heck that I quite enjoyed. I can honestly say that this is my favourite movie of 2022 so far, and for the first time on my channel, I'm giving this 5 stars.